Hey y'all, I've had some folks ask about the electrical restoration I've done on this boat. So my 1984 Grady White Seafarer, and if you'll take a look at some of my other videos, you'll see we did a pretty comprehensive restoration of it. Remember the cutout transom, ended up redoing the transom, building a new gunnel cap, making a nice little tray here, be able to hold stuff, and outboard motor bracket, new Mercury Verado. But I totally redid the electrical side of the boat as well. So one of the things we did was this fuel tank compartment that was located in the stern of the boat here. I moved my fuel tank up into that area, built a bulkhead, and made a kind of a hold here. And I moved my batteries forward. So the batteries used to be located in the rear corners of the boat, and I built a shelf and located the batteries here. So putting a little bit of the weight forward, my switches are located back here. We made this nice little cabinet. My dad actually came up with this idea. I thought it was a great idea. So running across the stern of the boat, you got the cabinet. So kind of show you what I did here. Mounted my boarding ladder for the swim platform in there, so I made these plastic holders so it just slides down in, and it's kind of like a friction fit down in there. Over on this side, I've got my guest battery charger system, so 10 amp dual bank, and I've got my plug right here. So again, I go to my battery switches and isolator and big fuse there, and then the outboard motor rigging. Over in this corner I have my power steering, and then on the starboard side of the Seafarer down below, I don't know if you can see it, but there's actually there's a wire chase, two tubes that run underneath the deck there and go all the way up, and you can actually see it actually terminates roughly about there, probably about 5-6 inches below the deck, and then I have my sweep, and then making the turn. So I have a little cover that goes over this right here. I just have it pulled off so you can see the wire loom and things of that nature as I pulled wire forward and took wire to the stern of the boat. Redid the dash, so got my Mercury binnacle, got my trim tabs, new wire marine, made me a new panel here. So used to be there was the Yamaha gauges in this location. I turned it into a switch panel, and you can see all the switches that I have here. And then this used to be a compartment with a little open door on it, and I turned that into the Mercury vessel view. And then I just purchased or got for Christmas a Fishhawk X4. So let's go down in the cabin. So I did not want to run a bunch of fuses and have everything running back to near the batteries. So we ran heavy gauge wire to this Paneltronics DC 12 volt DC circuit breaker panel. So it's a 50 amp setup, and I didn't use all the circuit breakers, but ordered the sizes that I needed for the different circuits. So some of the things I did, I plotted out all of my distances, so out and back from the panel, and you got to remember to do that correctly to size your wire gauge. And I also used the marine kind of design guidelines for the coloring of the wires. So like I think like brown and yellow is pumps, like bilge pumps, for example. So I tried to adhere to the design guidelines, marine design guidelines for electrical setup. But this is really nice. So what I do is I, flip my switch in the back. Then I'll come in here, turn the circuit breaker panel on, downriggers, planer boards, stereo, fan, which when I push this on, what it does is it makes on the dash that switch is live, so I can turn the fan on. The fishhawk, that'll power that up. The Garmin radio, power to the wiper circuit, trim tab circuit. So all the things on here that I needed. And probably the two largest draw items that I have would be the downriggers and planer boards. And I've run, when I'm pulling lines, I've run both downriggers and planer boards in. I don't have a problem with, going over 50 amps. I've not even come in here and really looked at it, but I've never blown the main circuit breaker because of an overdraw. But we fabricated, my dad came up with this nice idea here. I was like, wow, it'd be great to have a circuit breaker panel. And he's like, well, we can make a cabinet here in the cabin. So if you recall, I replaced the partitions, and so he made this nice box, or we made it together. Yeah, worked out pretty well. The cabin here is, pretty Spartan. I didn't do anything with the carpeting or anything along those lines. Kind of just stuck it up there where it needed to go. I'm looking at adding some rod holders to the cabin. I've been coming up with a concept. I was just kind of making one out of wood here, trying to figure out how to mount it and have some more rod storage. But this kind of just a nice catch-all area, keep things dry. We did reseal and reglaze all the windows, so those are all popped out and then reglazed and reset. And so that's really it for the electrical side of things. Again, got my switches, batteries located down here, onboard charger, plug in when I put it in the garage, and then, as I said, ordered all this new stuff up front here and all the wiring and put it together. So hopefully that helps you out. If you have any specific questions, comments, put them down below, and reach out to me. Hopefully you can check out some of my other videos as well. Thanks a lot.